Hi students, good morning to all. So we were discussing about the fundamentals of forensic science. While telling that, I told you about the basic concept of forensic science lies upon the principle of Locke's exchange principle. I told you about that. So apart from that, there are so many other principles for forensic science. Even though forensic science, the base of forensic science lies upon the laws and principles of from all the sciences. In addition, it has developed its own principles. So there are around seven principles for forensic science. So let's check one by one what are they. First one is law of individuality, then principle of exchange, law of progressive change, law of probability, principle of analysis, principle of comparison, and facts do not lie. So these are the seven principles of forensic science. What are they? Law of individuality, principle of exchange, law of progressive change, law of probability, principle of analysis, principle of comparison, and facts do not lie. So what is law of individuality? Law of individuality is of fundamental importance in forensic science. It says that every object, natural or man-made, has an individuality which is not in any other object. That means it is unique. So if we see uh, a grains of sand or the common salt or like maybe twins, maybe they look alike, but the thing is that there will be some difference or something will be there to differentiate between them. So these are not individual. This individuality has been verified in certain fields, and the most extensive work has been carried out in fingerprints. So the scientists they had done the experiments on millions of fingerprints and have checked, but no two fingerprints, even from two fingers of the same person, have been ever found to be identical. That means if we are taking our five fingers, these five fingers fingerprints are different from one another. So they are telling that no two fingerprints, even from two fingers of the same person, have been ever found to be identical. And this thing is applicable in our crime also. Anything and everything involved in the crime has its own individuality. The culprit is unique and his mode of operation is unique. His weapon of offense is unique. Scene of crime is unique. Evidentiary clues are unique. And like what are the leftover or picked up by the culprit are unique. So we just have to identify the uniqueness to link the crime with the criminal. So this is law of individuality. What it says that every object, nature or man-made has an individuality which is not in any other object. So we will go to next one, principle of exchange. This we discussed earlier also. Principle of exchange means whenever two entities come in contact, there is an exchange of traces mutually. That means every contact leaves a trace. If we touch something or if we come in contact with something, will exchange mutually something between us. For example, if we are taking a hit and run case in forensic science, if we are taking hit and run case, a car came in high speed and hit some person, and immediately the car driver escaped from the place with the car, and he will think that okay, I escaped from the place at the time, nobody saw me, so I they will not suspect me, like that he thought and he went like that. But the thing is that maybe the paint flakes of the car will be on the body of the victim, or the tire marks will be on the victim, and even the cloth or some fabric portion of the victim will be on the tire or on the maybe it's stuck on the car parts. So this kind of mutual exchange happened there at that time. So by thoroughly examining the scenario, crime scene, the investigating officer can easily find out which car had hit him and escape. So this is an example for hit and run case. Likewise, chance fingerprints. I told you so many examples in last class. Chance fingerprints and footprints, tool marks, etc. are we got this physical evidence by exchange principle. So this is first enunciated by a French scientist Edmond Locard, so that it is called as Locard's principle, and this is the basic concept behind the forensic science. Principle of exchange is very important principle of exchange. So uh, you have to remember this all the time. Next one is law of progressive change. Everything changes with the passage of time. In other words, nothing is permanent or invariable. So look at us only for as an example. 2 years before, how we look like, and now how we are looking like. So it's there's a great uh, change within us only. So this means that everything changes with passage of time. This is happening in the case of culprits also. If the criminals also undergo progressive change like that. If the criminal is not apprehended in time, he becomes unrecognizable. Like some of the um, things such as permanent things such as fingerprints or bone fractures or other characters such as DNA in cells, these remain constant, but other facial characteristics or maybe his height, weight, everything might be changed. So the police officer fail to identify the person. So this is law of progressive change. Everything changes with passage of time. Maybe the culprit had done the crime 5 or 10 years back, and the trial is going on, and the police officer might be not able to find out the criminal. So after 10 years, like they if they made a portrait parlor of this person also, after 10 years there will be lot of changes for him. So they couldn't find him. They can't find him. So this is law of progressive change. Next is principle of comparison. It says that only the likes can be compared. So we can compare only the things which looks alike, which is alike. Otherwise there is no use of this comparison. In a murder case, a bullet is recovered from the deceased. For example, I'm saying in a murder case, a bullet is recovered from the crime scene, like from the deceased, and the expert, ballistics expert, they are telling this bullet has been fired from the firearm, like a high velocity, like the firearm which firing the high velocity projectiles. But for the comparison purpose, the or the court has sent them shotgun or pistol or revolvers as the possible suspected firearm. So there is no worth of comparing these things. Another example, we can say that if a bunch of hair is recovered from the hands of deceased, and the expert opines that this hair belongs to the negroid person, but for comparison, they had sent some hair sample of a Mongoloid or an white race person for comparison, and this may be of no use. So only the like can be compared. In another example of document examination, we can say that a suicide letter written suspected that one person wrote the suicide letter, and he wrote in Malayalam language the suicide letter. But for comparison purpose, they had seized some English handwriting of this person and they sent for to the laboratory. This is of no worth. If the suicide letter is in Malayalam, they have to compare. They have to send a Malayalam writing of that same person only. Otherwise, we can't compare. We can't compare Malayalam script with English script. So this is called principle of comparison. Next is principle of analysis. Analysis can be no better than the sample analyzed. The principle emphasizes the necessity of correct sampling and correct packing. If there is a correct sampling, that is like from the crime scene, they have to collect the physical evidences very securely, or proper sample has to collect, proper evidence has to collect, and they should pack it properly and preserve it properly. Then only the correct analysis of the sample can made. Improper sampling and contamination renders the best result useless. So, if the police officer or the investigating officer who is collecting the evidence, he should keep in mind that he should uh, collect the evidence properly without any contamination. This is principle of analysis. Next is law of probability. All identifications, definite or indefinite, are made continuously or unconsciously on the basis of probability. Probability means chance of occurrence of a particular event, right? In mathematics, for mathematical concept, it determines the chance of occurrence of a particular event in a particular way out of a number of ways in which the event can take place or fail to take place with equal facility. We studied in our plus two and all that um, plus two and in mathematics, the like what is probability. So everything has its two sides. There are like this can happen or this can't happen. So there will be two chances for each thing, two or more chances for happening the thing. So the investigating officer, while investigating a crime, he he should not think only in one way. This can happen, or this there is no chance of happening this one. So he should think in so many ways, then only he can investigate the case. So this is called probability, law of probability, chance of occurrence of a particular event in a particular way. Then while making any theories or any decisions, before making that, they should consciously think the things on the basis of probability. Next one is facts do not lie. It means that facts can't lie, but man can. A man can lie because the oral testimony of the witness, like of the witness, if a person is going to give the witness testimony, he maybe he saw something and he want to tell that, but because of some external pressure or auto suggestions or like any opinions from the other persons, he can modify his words, so he can change his words. So it's not that reliable, but the thing is that circumstantial evidence is reliable. Even the material evidence can manipulate, like if I want to if I have a grudge on some person, I can manipulate the evidence. Like if I have a grudge on my neighbor and accidentally my fence got collapsed, and I kept my own some evidences. I manipulated some evidences, and I what I did is that I kept these evidences on his in his home, and I complained to the police. So because of this manipulated evidence, they can arrest this person or they can take this person. Police can take this person. So this kind of manipulation can occur in what um, material evidence, and even oral evidence, because of the auto suggestions, they like they can modify, but the circumstantial evidence they can't do anything. So facts do not lie, man can, and they will do that. So these are the seven principles. What are they? Law of individuality, law of progressive change, principle of exchange, principle of analysis, principle of comparison, law of probability, and facts do not lie. So this is about principle of exchange. Sorry, this is about principle of forensic science. So if you have any doubts in that, please feel free to ask me, and we will discuss that later. Thank you.